right. Are we ready? Let's go. Hello, and welcome to the Ad Club's Ask the Experts virtual series brought to you by the Young Professionals Committee. My name is Estie Wassner, and I am an art director at Barker NYC, and I will be interviewing marketing leader Teneshia Warren, CEO and founder of Egami Group. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling good.
Entire Ad Club community and Estie, thank you so much for taking time to continue to do these interviews for young professionals. So I am super excited.
Amazing. We're super pumped to have you, and let's dive right in. Hardest question first. What did you have for breakfast today? If you had breakfast, we're not going to assume.
All right, I gotta let you in. I'm guilty. It is 11:15 a.m. Eastern time, and I have not had a single thing for breakfast.
I'm like, let's pause this interview, go get breakfast.
I wish I could tell you that it was, I wish I could tell you it was like a part of a weight loss fasting program, but no, this is just completely going meeting to meeting. But I will go get something after this.
This will be the inspiration. Okay, so you didn't have a super linear path to marketing. I think like a lot of us. What was that process like? You know, leaving the financial stability of IBM to pursue your passion and start over as a volunteer for Rush Communications and afterwards. So what were some of the things that you learned on that journey?
Well, you know, I'll start with like what was driving some of my choices in the very beginning post-college. I grew up with parents that literally, they were teens. They were not together. So I was in a single parent household, although my father was very active, but they were teenagers. So I actually kind of grew up with my parents, and along the way, definitely had our fair share of struggle. And so I think as a young girl, I made up in my mind what I did not want to experience, which was struggle. And at that point, unknowingly, I actually gave money and finance the driver keys to like all of my major decisions. And so when it was time to choose a major, technology was booming. I decided to major in computer science. When it was time to select a job, IBM Global Services, amazing company, best offer. Yeah. So I was really on this path, and I was working on my master's. Even that was all about going into another pay bracket, right? And this professor, his name was Dr. Charlie Bison. He gave me one of the best assignments that I think any professor could give college students. And this assignment was, he challenged us to determine what was the main driving force behind our pivotal decisions in life. And I took the assignment really serious, yeah. And it was through that assignment that I had the aha that money and finances were driving all of my choices. And it also was this assignment where I thought to myself, I wonder what life would look like if I led with passion and purpose. And I made the decision, like, I want to switch it up. Money, I'm going to put you over to the passenger seat. Purpose, passion, you can get in the driver's seat, and let's see where it takes us. And one of the best decisions ever. So that was the backstory to me leaving IBM Global Services, this amazing corporate job, climbing the corporate ladder, and then starting all over at this media company in New York, starting, like you said, from the, I won't even say the bottom because I was a volunteer. So I wasn't even an intern.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, some of the lessons that I learned through that volunteer process was, number one, the power of giving. I feel that I was able to have that door open because I was willing to volunteer. And I think sometimes in today's age, you know, volunteering can kind of not be cool, especially when everybody wants to make that paper right away. But the power of giving is an underestimated value tool of how you can learn via volunteering. Another lesson that I got during that period is not being afraid to make a big ask. And so, I really do believe, ask and ye shall find. So even me landing that opportunity, it took me going to people within my network saying, do you know of an opportunity that aligns to my passion points, and sharing my passion points? So it would have never happened without me being willing to lean on my network and be vulnerable and say what I was up to. And then the last thing is something that I still carry today, and that's a servant's mindset. So when you enter into a new job or a new working partnership, rather than only thinking about what's in it for you, if you switch that consciousness to say, what's in it for them? Like, what do I bring to the table that would enhance this company? I call that a servant's mindset. So those are some things that I learned during that period of volunteering at Rush Communication that I pull on every day.
That's amazing. Wow. I'm blown away. Yeah, that's wow. It's really powerful. And I think those are some really incredible lessons that you continue to take with you. Well, what has changed in the marketing world then since you first got your start, and maybe what's surprisingly the same?
So I thought about this, Estie, before coming on. I got a little bit of a funny story.
Oh, good. I love funny stories.
Back in 2008, this was the second year of Egami operating in business.
Yeah.
We were working on an account called Tag Body Spray.
Sure.
And this was typically before this geared towards young boys. It was, you spray this on and you get the girls. And we were helping them reposition that brand to engage with urban consumers. So we did this out of the box deal between Tag Body Spray and Def Jam, and we started a record label called Tag Records. And again, it was all around engaging urban consumers through the power of music. I can remember prior to us launching the label, being in a meeting and somebody said, you know what? We need to make sure that our celebrity spokesperson, who was Jermaine Dupri, we need to actually make sure he uses Twitter. And I kid you not, there were like 2 or 3 people in the room, probably also including me, that it was this blank look of, what did you say? So we need to be using Twitter. And then it was, what's Twitter? It was like, the new social media platform, and you can only use X amount of characters. So thinking back to that moment, I can't believe that was only, if you think back to 2008, that was only
not that long ago. It's not even that long ago. Like, that's right. Wow, crazy.
So that's something that's new. I feel the emergence of digital and social media channels over the past 15 years. New channels emerge daily, and the need to understand those channels are ever so important for marketers. So that's something that for sure has changed quite a bit. Some of the things though that really have remained the same and constant, when Egami Group started our firm, it was on the premise that we wanted brands to truly understand the power of multicultural consumers.
Yeah.
We wanted them to engage with them from an authentic way, in culturally relevant ways. And we also wanted to raise the flag and say, listen, you need to pay attention to these audiences. We're on our way to becoming the majority. The buying power is a buying power that you will miss out on if you don't focus your attention. Yeah. And thinking back to when Egami started 13 years ago and today, the conversations that I'm having with the brands really still ladder back to that premise that multicultural consumers have power, and we want our clients to engage through culture, community, and cause. So those are things that I think is still the same. Yeah. I love this quote that I heard from Mark Pritchard. He said, if you're not multicultural marketing, then you're not marketing. Love it. So I think that's just a piece of wisdom that we've been kind of sharing for 13 plus years now.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. No, I think that's something that's universal that should continue to be. So anyway, moving on then to the book. You published a book called The Big Stretch, and it's a playbook. Yeah, awesome. It's a playbook to crushing. Woo! Get your book. No, that's pretty. It's not even your only book. It's pretty incredible. It's a playbook to crushing goals and creating your own success. So, what would you say are the common things standing in our way of tackling personal and professional next steps? What would be like the common ones?
You know, this is one that it really sounds simple, but it is so major. I would say obstacle number one is allowing ourselves the time to imagine and dream freely. So oftentimes when you think about, you know, what is it that I want to do next, or what's the next big dream that I want to go after, you start to actually think about, well, what's possible and how can I do it and what's achievable, but unknowingly putting limitations on it prior to you even allowing yourself time to dream freely. So I think obstacle one is giving ourselves the time to dream freely and imagine without limits, is a major obstacle. Another one is, and it's kind of tied to that, and this is really going to sound cliche, but the belief in yourself that you can actually do it. Oftentimes when I'm talking or counseling young professionals or other aspiring entrepreneurs, it's this, I want to do it, but I'm not quite sure if I can do it. And we always start with boosting that self-confidence of, you're going to have to believe in yourself more than anyone else through this journey, because the dream journey is not for the faint of heart. So the belief in yourself. And then the third thing I would say is an obstacle is making sure that your path that you're on is truly a path that's right for you. It is so easy, I'm guilty, I just told you that, to wake up and say, how did I get here? And this is not really what I want to do. And so it's important to do internal dream checks. You know, am I on the dream journey that's right for me? Have I chosen a journey that was influenced by outside factors? If the viewers will go over to thebigstretchbook.com, in the first section of the book, I actually have something called a dreamer's profile assessment. And this assessment is designed to serve as a self-awareness tool for all of the readers to determine what dreamer type path is right for them. So all dreams aren't created the same. I've learned that. So everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not meant to be a career executive. Everyone's not meant to be the next community activist. Which role particularly speaks to you? And so that's another obstacle, and that's a tool that I would love to offer you guys. It is online, downloadable, no charge. So head on over to thebigstretchbook.com. Let's overcome one of these obstacles and making sure that you are clear on what type of dreamer you are and the path that may be right for you.
Yeah, those are amazing ones. Well, thank you for sharing that. Because even I think, I always tell myself, act as if. It's like that confidence thing, you're ahead of 90% of people when you just say, I can do this. Because we tell ourselves no all the time. and that's what it's about, the confidence and figuring out your own journey.
Well, Estie, I mean, even with you, I think just our short story, not that I'm turning the interview back on you, but I think your story is cool.
Ooh, I'm in the hot seat.
But I mean, just the little thing that you shared with me about how did you make that pivot and really determine that what you were doing, it wasn't necessarily the right path for you. I mean, and speaking with you, you seem to have experienced something similar as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I also, I was saying I was living in a little town upstate and didn't finish my degree, was working in the nonprofit world, but didn't know anything about design or about advertising. And I think just you find your power by making these small changes and having the guts to say, I deserve this. That's a very hard thing to do and to explore, because I say sometimes you don't know what you want to do until you try what you don't. And that's figuring out your path. That's what you were saying. I think as third step is just like knowing I'm maybe not good at this, but I'm brilliant at this, and leaning into those things. But right, having the guts, because I think we're all acting as if like does anyone have it made? Am I ever gonna realize that like now I know and now I'm confident? I mean, we all try, we all really try, but those are awesome ones. Yeah, I personally relate to all of that actually. But thank you. Yeah, and let's see. So you founded obviously an award-winning integrated multicultural marketing and communications agency, which is incredible. What work from Egami Group are you most proud of, and what work do you think still needs to be done in terms of inclusion in the industry?
Okay. All right. So when I thought about this one, I'm sorry, I can't just give one answer.
That's okay.
So proud work. I'll try to keep it to three. So number one, there was a campaign that we worked on a couple years ago with Procter & Gamble, a campaign called The Talk, that really shined a light on racial bias and the impacts of that bias throughout the African American community. That piece of work was definitely near and dear to our team's heart. And it was one that I believe we just really poured our passion into. And that work in partnership with our amazing client really propelled Egami Group to a global stage. Fast forward a year later, we were actually walking across the stage in Cannes, winning a Grand Prix, becoming the first African-American female-led firm to do so. So I think that's one piece of work that will always kind of be very special to our firm. Even fast forwarding 20 years, if you were to interview an employee and I'll be retired, they will probably repeat back to you, this is a piece of work that our firm was most proud of. In addition to that, something that I love about our team is we do not necessarily wait for solutions to be solely driven by our clients. So we will create a solution if we see a problem in the marketplace. And we launched something called the Dream Project, which a lot of the key learnings in the book was from the Dream Project. And it was a platform designed to give multicultural entrepreneurs and professionals with tools and resources and inspirational stories to take their ideas and dreams to the next level. So we created it. We were going to do it regardless. And we ended up getting over 12 corporate partners. We also had over 200 amazing, what I call iconic all-star dreamers, join forces with us to share their stories. So I'm proud of the entrepreneurial spirit that lives within Egami, where we will not wait for the answer, we will become the answer. A third thing is, as a minority business-owned enterprise, we know the importance of economic development. We know the importance of walking the walk and talking the talk. So as a firm, we have been committed to spending on average $2 million annually with minority business enterprises. Wow. And we kind of look at it like, if not us, then who? So those are three things that I'm really, really proud of. And now to answer your second question, what work needs to be done? I'm kind of sad that we still have to start here, because I think it's sort of like the recorder. If you've gone to some of these conferences, you hear it all the time. But I still think there's major work to ensure that minorities have a seat at the table. And that seat at the table can look like employment through all ranks of an organization. It can look like representation on boards, partnerships with minority businesses from a vendor and supplier standpoint. So these are all things that I think if you look at the numbers, the statistics still show blaring gaps that basically say we still have a lot of work to do. a vision of what I would love to see for our industry. In addition, when we talk about, we just want to make sure that multicultural audiences, they get a seat at the table. But can we take that to another step of multicultural audiences actually feeling like the table is within an area that they can call home? So if you're sitting at a table in a foreign environment and you're so worried, do I know the rules? Is my etiquette okay? Am I really being welcome? Am I embarrassing anybody? That's not a comfortable table to sit at. So can we also ensure that as we invite diverse audiences to the table, that we're making sure the home and environment is one that feels like all of these audiences belong? So that is sort of a vision of where I would like for it to go.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I think it's so important that and even adding that last piece, I think it's true. Like I listened to you maybe in another interview also saying about mentorship and about, right, and making that place then comfortable, because it's probably, it's not enough just to make the space physically, but to make the space emotionally and really make people feel like they are, welcome and that they're comfortable. So that's cool to think about and important to think about. As a CEO and a leader, what would you say are the most important qualities and skills for a young professional to have in a post-COVID world, and how could employees level up to help their senior management teams?
My dearest young employees, wow.
I'm like, here's the mic. Yes.
Okay, here's what I would say to you. And I know you're hearing it all over the news, but truly, we are in unprecedented times. I think challenging is an understatement. So whether you are a young employee and or even a mid-level employee and or an executive, this advice that I'm about to give you, it's across the board, it's universal. There's a section in my book where I talk about a commonality among iconic dreamers that have an ability to unleash what I call a dream warrior. And this dream warrior comes out when the obstacles are so high. The dreamer is determined, I'm going to fight through this. I'm going to overcome this obstacle. I'm going to do whatever it takes to ensure I make it on the other side of this challenging mountain. Again, interviewed different dreamers, but the same story appeared, these dream warrior moments. And then this happened and I couldn't see my way. And what separates the iconic all-stars from those that make it and those that not is the fact that they were willing to tap into this dream warrior. So that is tip number one. If you are a young employer, you are going to have to tap into a warrior mode. You're going to have to be more tenacious than you've ever been. You're going to have to be really willing to not give up and not quit no matter what. You're going to have to also be willing to fight through these times. Another thing I would say is keeping a mentality where you're almost constantly expecting the unexpected. Things are changing daily. So I don't want you in a position where you're totally surprised and totally thrown off. Expect the unexpected. When these things happen, you're going to have to be willing to pivot quickly. And so if you're so fixed, this is my plan, step 1, step 2, step 3, that's not going to make it in this landscape. So you can write your dreams out, but I highly recommend in this season, you make sure you write it with a pencil and have that eraser ready, because you probably will have to erase daily and try to find a new path to the destination.
Yeah.
So that willingness to erase, find another path, erase, find another path. And then when you ask the question about what can young employees do to help senior management. I want you all to know that senior management, we're faced with challenges every day. Clients that are perhaps putting work on pause, clients that are also struggling to ensure that their employees stay employed. So as a result, they're cutting expenses that it's cutting into agency fee and agency expenses. So your senior management could be experiencing contract cancellations, the challenges of working in a virtual world and somewhat losing the team camaraderie. The challenges of looking at numbers daily and determining, is this now the time that I have to furlough? Is this the time that I have to lay off employees? So one thing that you can do is stay aware of what's happening overall in the world, but what's happening in your particular industry and how is it impacting your agency that you're working with? So partnering with your senior management in the pain and looking to bring solutions. Do not be afraid. Hey, look, I know this particular contract canceled, but I thought of this great idea. Maybe we can provide them with a digital solution versus what we were doing. Or maybe this is the time for us to counsel our client through crisis management. Whatever it may be, connect the dots, put yourself in the shoes of senior management, and then ask yourself, what can I do to be a partner in the solution? Leaders at this point, we're popping out solutions every other minute. Honestly, I can't even listen to a full problem without going into solutions mode. So, I mean, I know sometimes, yeah, I know sometimes, our team, we need the space to identify the problem. And as leaders in our agency, we find that valuable space to identify the problem. But as the leader, I can't sit with that problem. It's time to solve it. So as many soldiers that we have on our leadership team and our employee team that's helping us solve, that is what will make you invaluable in this season.
Yeah, no, that's important. That's really, it makes a lot of sense. I think everyone, just like we said, putting out fires and the best you can do for your team, but also for your leaders and your CEOs who are also people and struggling with all these, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, is to be a partner and is to try and be, offering solutions as best you can. So that's definitely a biggie. Okay, one quick last question. What is the best career advice you have ever received?
It goes back to that class and the professor, Dr. Charlie. I think it was the challenge to explore what drives you. And once you understand that, for me, the best advice that I was ever given was to be driven by purpose and passion. And that is one of the most rewarding decisions I've ever made, was the aha of, I am going to give purpose and passion the keys to driving me forward and seeing where will it lead me. That doesn't mean you're going to always have it figured out. Like, knowing what your purpose is, that's a discovery within itself. So Estie, you just stated, like, sometimes finding your purpose is also by finding what it's not. Yeah. So that's not to say, young professionals, I don't want you to think you have to have it so figured out that but a willingness to always try and discover it and lead with it is very important. And 3 probing questions that you can kind of always ask yourself is, why am I here? What becomes possible in the lives of others, and or what becomes possible in the companies where I'm currently working because I exist? And how can I uniquely serve the world? 3 really, really big questions, but questions that can open you up to these large purpose territories that will ensure that purpose is sort of guiding the way as your compass as we walk through this thing called life.
Wow. Well, I'm like, you have just powered my day. You have powered my week. You have powered my month. I want to say that. I really want to say, Teneshia, thank you for your time and for your wisdom and your energy and your awesomeness. Thank you to our viewers for listening, and stay tuned for more content from the young professionals in the Ad Club's virtual clubhouse. Now I have to figure out how to end this. Let's see.